Okay, and welcome. We're going to be starting a new series today, Feudal Empires. Um, I've run it before on the channel, so this is maybe not going to have any new people joining. But if this is your first time watching, I am streaming this live to Twitch under the username Wilkle and uploading to YouTube under the username Wilkle100 for keeping it up in the distance. We're going to go and play the DLC Grand Campaign, which is like the Rise of Persia DLC for Feudal Empires here. I'm not going to turn the difficulty up. We're going to basically run on balanced difficulty. The main difference is bonuses mainly for the AI if you turn the difficulty up. And yeah. And today I'm planning on just playing as Persia since we loaded into the game, well, partially loaded in the game here, loaded into the nation select screen. We'll see our starting position. Okay. And I may, for YouTube, edit that bit out. So if you're just joining with us here on the main loading screen, after the last thing I said, then that's what I've done. People watching on Twitch obviously had to sit through that with me. We're planning on playing against Persia in this scenario, which is 550 BC to 333 or 330 BC. Persia is this upstart nation. Game paleolize. It plays as many of the nations do in the Fertile Crescent. I think for unique buildings, we only get 2 unique wonders. Though one of them, I think one of them you can build like 3 times. So it's basically four buildings. There's just 3 of the same building, and then one palace. So we basically get 3. You get the 4 buildings. Otherwise, we're basically running the same buildings as everyone else in the region. Where for bonuses, we get Archimede Imperialism during its period of conquest. Archimede Persia, named after the tribe, revolted against Medea. In here. Achieves stupendous and lightning-fast success across many of its neighboring nations. As such, many of those nations, Medea, Babylon, Lydia, and Elam, may spontaneously lose one region a turn to Persia if they are not glorious. In addition, Medea, who is the person we started a war with, and these guys, may completely crumble if their capital is lost. We'll probably end up taking that chance, or taking that goal. As part of that, our decadence gain is reduced, so this will allow us to pretty aggressive expansion. On the other hand, our token chance is reduced. We're much less likely to get percussion or declining tokens, although we don't have to really worry as much about decadence. We get Persian strappies, straps, protectors of the realm. This is basically a special governmental governor's palace. We'll get in and see those once we're in the game. That's going to be one of the mechanics we play around. Most notably, as it says here, they provide free troops to the army. Basically, they give, I think, 2 free troops each. And if you get a large enough country, that adds up. That adds up quite a bit. We also, in this scenario, we get Helena's friction, so we got some ability to drive the Greeks to be caustic to each other, is probably the way to describe it. And I believe this rewards us in a situation where one of the 2 Greeks gets destroyed as well. So we're kind of encouraged to keep them fighting each other, or in the situation where they're not fighting each other, encouraged to get rid of one of them. Persia will enjoy various moderate wars as long as Athens and Sparta have poor relations. And I think by default it assumes they have poor relations if one of them doesn't exist. So this is an example. We start the game with 1 province, so we start a game with 1 Straffy palace. So we've got 2 free units more from there. It has some other modifiers that we'll get into it more specifically. And these are mostly faction modifiers. So we start as a monarchy, a bit of extra XP to our army. We start the game with high military expertise, although that's because of our explosive expansion. It's maybe not going to hang around for very long. We just start with the competent administrators modifier, Again, this is something that is probably going to hang around for the first monarch. From our starting position, we do have a lot of independent territory to the east, and there's maybe an argument to take that territory over at some point. The very far east will have the Indians. They're friendly enough. You can keep them in the nation border. I've had decent luck in previous runs keeping at least one of these people up here friendly to form a northeastern front as well that you don't need to worry about. Obviously, we start war with Medina, and there's that mechanic. I think if you were to look at history, you could make an argument that the nation that we're playing is actually a revolting tag, and by carrying out a successful coup of the government, the rest of Medina will surrender to us and become part of us. But we start at war with Medina, and we probably will do something pretty similar to that. We got this nation, Elam. We'll probably take over Elam. We're probably going to be in pretty heavy conflict with Babylon and Lydia. Yeah, and those are the four nations that may spontaneously lose regions to us if they're not glorious. So we're maybe not necessarily in a rush to be super aggressive against all four of them. We're going to be sort of coerced to be a little aggressive against Medina because we started war with them. And then our big long-term enemy is actually probably going to be Egypt. As we'll see once we're in the game, they start with a decent amount of legacy. And then because of the Hellenic friction, we're kind of implied to have some sort of rivalry with Athens and Sparta. In practice, the AI does a pretty good job of between the three main Greek players over here keeping themselves quite busy. I suspect by the time we've dealt with Egypt, I don't think the Greeks will actually be too much of a problem as long as I am careful and cognizant of how I'm dealing with them. So yeah, Egypt's probably going to be the main big bad the mid to late game. So let's get into the game. And everyone more west than Sparta and Egypt is probably foes we will not deal with until we've practically won the game. So as part of our start here, we do have some troops forming up. We start with this army. Starts off with 2 bands of Immoral, which is our nation-specific heavy infantry. A decent line of medium infantry. Also good veterancy. So, unless we've got a significantly better general in here, which we don't, we'll keep our monarch Cyprus II in charge of the army. And yeah, so we've got to have, once all these guys get together, we'll have a front line of 12, which for the arid hills and stuff that we're going to be in initially is actually not that bad. In fact, actually, if anything, it's a little over frontage. But that's fine. You want some people to switch out in case something goes wrong. One thing I might want is I probably want a few more archers. Probably want like 2 more archers. So before we go on the advance, let's actually we'll get everyone together. And I'm going to graze 2 archers. We do have provincial archers here, or provincial skirmishers here, the Iranian slingers. We got 5 range attack, and we have eastern archers, which have 6. So we'll go with the eastern archers. Unlike the previous game where we were playing as Sparta, we have access to decent recruit everywhere archers that don't increase in cost as they go. So we probably will never use the Iranian slingers. Oh, we do have. I'm mistaking. We have Iranian slingers and our eastern archers, and we have a provincial Persian archer, which is probably still, for our purposes, probably still inferior to our recruit everywhere eastern archer. Unless we want to like embed it in a fortress or something. 1 siege resist versus 1 siege resist. Yeah, so the big benefit here is these guys have better defense, the provincial ones. Yeah. But yeah, we've got some decent medium infantry, some decent heavy infantry. But effectiveness 3. So these guys aren't going to be quite as unstoppable as the Persian or as the Spartan hoplites we had in the last one. But we do have 3-star veterancy on our starting ones, which means they are going to have the minimum 6 roll to start. So that's definitely not a trivial starting position. Much the case as I usually do, we're probably going to slap most of the people on to infrastructure production to start. Check to see that we're food positive. We are. Early on, we don't really have any culture. This is the Strap Palace. So this is the replacement to the governor's, the provincial governor's palace that we get as the Persians, and I believe you get as the Sassanids in the regular scenario. Yep, and this is an upkeep of 5 money. We get 10 culture from coral here. We need another 10 if we could source some ceramics or ivory. Provides us some extra manpower, some extra equipment. Has an improved garrison. Does have a Deccan's cost, so we're going to have to be careful about that, though. In situations where we can get at least one of the bonuses here, culture-wise, it's not a problem. And it's unlocking the provincial unit, which we're probably not going to use in this situation. I think most provincial places provide a loyalty penalty, and provides 2 extra free units on the national level. So yeah, we are probably going to want to invest a little bit temporarily in a little bit of culture, just to offset the number of territories we have in the culture decadence ratio until we get some culture buildings built. That can be removed with prospect for resources. Do we have one of those? No, we didn't roll one of those. I will go ahead and grab the build harbor right away. What do you got build wise? Salt we already have. We have a cattle source. The smokehouse isn't bad. Little tempted to actually go to the slave market right now. Let's go to the slave market early. Oh, and we don't have flax, so this is no brainer. We got the flax building there. We got no open building slots here. We are going to want to be money positive. This is going to be one of the actual struggles early on in this campaign, so we're going to have money issues. I'll get this positive. I probably want to be more positive than that, arguably. Okay, that's what we'll have to do for money. We're going to have to source more sources of money. So that's basically going to be our starting position. Local administration we will do whenever we have operation, the option to do it. To save money, I'm going to hold off on the Hellenics until over here. We don't start with any decisions. Okay. Our ruler, Cyprus II, is a superior administrator, reformer, conqueror, architect. So we can do a bunch of stuff really early on. We may slow down a little bit once he dies, so we don't want to sit around too long. We want to be getting things done. Okay, may have over accounted for with the culture to decadence ratio. We'll pay attention to it as the turns advance. For too long have been forced to pay homage to the kings of Medea, but no more. Soon the time will come of the reckoning. Councils warn you as soon as the king has decided what is the best outcome of the action. Okay, we got an objective there and an objective there. So we got 2 objectives out of the 4 we can have at any given time. Oh, and apparently our capital is considered an objective, even though we started with it. And for the moment, I think, as long as we're sticking to like hills and stuff like that, the army is good to go. Okay, that'll be a bit aggressive, but we'll do that move. we're still running money positives, so that's fine. And because I've got so much dedicated to making money, we're not too expecting anything to actually be finished. So the army's ready to go. Your army will do some work. So, provincial garrison 1, 20 guys. We're going to skip the fight because we know that we're going to win that fight. Same here. So there is the Median army. See if we can defeat that in the field. The King of Kings decided that the reign of Media, or the region of Media, must be our own, as it is home to the Median nobility and their usual center of power. Alternatively, we can set them paying homage to you. You need to choose an approach completed within 30 turns to earn some rewards. And more importantly, the King's esteem. So yeah, they're telling us we need to go do... I think they want us to annex them or make them a puppet. My first plan here is destroy the Median army in the field, and then we'll go siege them their capital. Did we happen to get any other objectives, or it's still the... Oh, we had Babylon at. That's... Would have preferred objectives I can reasonably complete, but that's what we're getting given. New territory. Oh, road. We definitely build the road. Nomadic raiders. We do probably want to clear that. Stables is something we can pull initially. On the other hand, we don't even have enough industry here because of the negative effect of the nomadic raiders to build it. So just put it on food. We'll grow a little bit faster. Ah, we got that prospect for resources. That'll be nice. We'll clear that modifier with it. As tempting as it might be to try to push for the bridge, much easier as prospect to do it. That'll remove the penalty and give us a bit more money. Okay, they hold steady. This is a fight we'll watch. In the hills go the Immortal. So our skirmishers are more numerous and more effective than theirs, exhausting their front line. The Immortals, again, the last run we were doing, we were playing against Sparta. The Immortals are not quite as good as Spartan hoplites, but they're good enough. 8 attack rating versus 5 attack rating, minimum roll 6 versus, after we exhausted them with the archers, minimum roll 1. I think we should have an easy time with this. Yep. Now this is medium infantry up against slingers. Again, we're probably going to get saved by the minimum roll here. 5v1. Yeah. 5v4, probably the same thing as before. Oh, the minimum roll did not save us. So we took a little bit of damage there, but that's fine. Cavalry comes in to mop up the job and does that. Heavy infantry v heavy... well, I think that's the heavy infantry they've got on their side. Immortals go in, and again, reliable swing. Didn't roll well enough. That's one reason. If you don't have enough to form a high quality front line, always bring some decent skirmishers because they die less on the flanks than other flankers do. And with that, I think the majority of their field army has been defeated. And you can see the provincial defection coming in there, giving us a province, or giving us a territory. And this is a province capital, so it's a decent garrison. And I think they managed to sneak some more troops in here before we managed to slam them into the fortress, so... Definitely not in a position to storm that fortress. Oh, because of the slave camp, we got an extra citizen here. We're probably still going to leave them on making food. And I always like those public works. We're gonna hold off on making that a province, because I'll probably just make Medina the province capital. That is an objective. Okay. Prospect for resources. We got a second prospect for resources. Did it clear the bad modifier? It did. Are you one I can remove? No. Your armor. Okay, so what do we got natural resource-wise? In the hills down here, we have coral, horses, fish. We're most likely gonna hit stone anyway. Iron, copper, or iron and pottery, not copper. So it may make sense to do some prospecting down here. Although probably the best we're gonna hit is copper or silver. I think you can hit those in the hills. I think it's gold you can't hit, so it's copper, silver. And we're likely to hit stone or iron again, which wouldn't be particularly ideal. And this is all hills, except for the steps up there, so I don't really want to do it on the steps. We'll do it on the hills down here, see what we hit. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that stone, because I didn't check before I did the prospect, wouldn't be surprised if that stone was from the prospect that we just did. Okay, so we're laying siege here. Siege will be quick. No immediate necessity to rush that. There's maybe an argument to do an adopt local administration. Yeah, let's drop it there. Oh, and I do have an art of the siege. Let's use that as well. Speed up the siege a little bit. Really, the only real downside to rushing down Medina by rapidly sieging their capital down is I won't have the benefit of getting a lot of objectives on them. Here we go. Totally defeated the enemy army. And I think that sallied out of the fort. That's now just the garrison. The garrison might actually be small enough now to just take my storm. Let's order the assault. One way or the other, it will fall, I think, on the next turn. Vision administration has been added. That gave us a nice courthouse here, so a little bit of decadence reduction. And every time you do that, it also improves one of the nation modifiers. Improves the administration here. Which hangs around for a certain number of times. So if you can do it fast enough back to back, you can keep the modifier around basically indefinitely. I tend to find the game doesn't give it to me enough times for me to keep the modifier up. And we will do Federate Barbarians on the neighbors. That will give us a couple skirmishers and will improve their opinion a little bit. Okay, there goes the capital. It surrendered before our assault went in. So because we've taken their capital, they're going to have a roll every turn. If they fail the roll, they immediately get annexed by us. Treasury's been plundered, cost some money. There's an epidemic starting. Okay. We're not going to hang around to suffer that epidemic, hopefully. We're going to start marching towards our other objective. It probably got replaced. Yeah, we got a second one on the Babylonians, which isn't, again, still not really what I want. Would have ideally wanted more on Medina. But at this point, probably too late for any more to come on Medina. Okay. You finished the flax field, and the anchorage that we queued up is done as well. Okay. Could go for the Castrum Ecutarum. Probably not. Probably hold off until we get a good provincial cavalry to put it on. Garum shop would be nice if we had olive oil nearby to import it. Can we make olive oil here? No, we're out of the olive oil fertility zone. Brickworks is tempting. We don't have any wine either. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Brickworks. Let's go Brickworks. There's maybe an argument here, while we're trying to build this region up, to actually re-roll into some of the 0 slots. Freshwater wouldn't be bad. The public works wouldn't be bad. Because it's the last build slot. Yeah, let's do some rerolls. Try to roll into the 0 slot. Here where we want to make the provincial capital, so we'll assign that as provincial capital. We're not going to put anyone on linear commerce in a place we've just taken over. I probably don't need the horses there. Let's see if we can give them something other than studs. Iron mine is tempting. Oh, we can also move the pottery around, get a decent money income, sure. Do I need pottery for... No, your ceramics, not pottery. And coral. So if we can find ways to move the coral around. The coral's not going to be super easy to move around. We should do that. Okay, so we set you to be province. It'll be a province officially next turn. Otherwise, I think we're good. Let's roll that turn. Provincial garrison, 1 unit. We'll just get that fight because we know we're winning it. Worst case scenario, we take some attrition. Okay, that area is becoming an entire province. We've gained another progress token because we're in the progressing tier. They're seeking an alliance. I will accept. That will secure my northeastern approach for basically the entire game. At some point I might try to be rich enough to make them into a subject, but that's long off in the future. We hit one of those 0 slots, we hit the public works. That was the reason to go for the reroll. I probably don't need or want herbalist. Builder's Guild, yeah, we probably want to work up the infrastructure. So public works makes a lot of sense. Public works, monument's fine, the market's fine. About 8 food off of food making. Try to get some infrastructure going a little bit better. This will all calm down a lot once they become properly part of the country. And again, we're working over to this objective over here. It's another walled settlement. City walls this time, so it's only got 1 wall level versus the solid walls over here, which have 2. A little bit more of a decent garrison. I'm noticing that I'm actually missing some units. He had 20, so someone took some attrition somewhere. I suspect probably actually due to food, not due to combat losses. It might have been combat losses. Unlikely. It would have been, yeah, probably food took some of our archers from us. There's our alliance. That has put me in war with these guys, but that's fine. I'm not worried about that. We're gonna continue marching forward. We properly got fed this turn. That's good to see. And public works there makes a lot of sense. We don't have the food because we're probably using it to feed the army, so let's not fiddle with the food too much there. Got another adopt local administration. I'll probably plop that on Medina itself. It doesn't need to be under pacification, so you need to drop in a place that you've only held for 4 turns or less. Right. So these 3 are no longer are appropriate targets. Immediately, this one has the courthouse. You wouldn't bother doing it there anyway. But yeah, there's something we're going to have to be paying attention to as we move forward. That's looking good. That's looking fine. Yep, roll the turn. Okay, so we caught what looks like a forming enemy army in the walls of the fortress. So we'll have to either sally out to face us or starve in the fortress. Siege should be pretty quick. And this is the drawback of getting a lot of troops caught in a fort like this. There's no way they're going to be able to feed them for very long. 4 turns, they'll start taking food starvation damage. Our food situation here is improving. So we can move more over to infrastructure to get the buildings built a little bit faster. Virtuous administration has been added. Okay. So I think things are going well. Again, there's just a chance that every turn here that Medina completely surrenders, we inherit all their territory. So this is one reason I'm not necessarily worried about taking over every last little piece of land, especially because a lot of this is really worthless. We're going to get a lot of worthless territory, let's say, when they surrender. Okay, so here's a little bit of a sally. Not a severe issue. Oh, I didn't realize our medium infantry actually have bows. Oh, there goes the entire Medina. All of Medina just surrendered. So that's a Medina special. That won't happen again in the future. Medina is the only one that surrenders like that. So now we need to decide where we're putting all our provincial capitals for a whole bunch of territory. These 2 up here are going to be a little bit annoying because the neighbors have more than have the other half of the province. Yeah, probably going to be Assyria. And then we do have a full province here. I'm not going to put the provincial garrison on the provincial one on the border, though actually it's a little tempting to put on the border because it does put more of a garrison in. You know what, just myself putting it on the border. We're going to put it on the border. We're going to put it there. I don't have enough to make a province there? No. Okay. So now we get the, we effectively now have quite a large empire and are very, in comparison, a bit military poor. There's an argument to try finishing up some provinces, so if we can take over those 2, or take over 1 or both of those to form a province here, that would be good. Take over that one, we can finish up that province. So that's probably what we're going to be doing for the moment, is trying to fill up some of our provinces. Although, taking of the Armenian holdout here is unlikely to be sure. Okay, so probably take that one because we're not at war with Lydia yet. How quickly can we get up there? 5 turns if we work through Armenia. That sounds like a bad plan. Okay, let's do that march path. Hopefully we don't get any rebellions here while we're sorting things out. Federate barbarians again. Yes, we do want to play that. So obviously we just got a bunch of territory from Medina, so we're gonna click through all this. Got one progress because we took over the objective there. Okay. And monument or clear water. I'm gonna go for the monument because we're probably gonna have some culture issues or culture decadence ratio issues very soon. Okay, I'm not gonna micro too many of the provinces. I'm just gonna make sure there's something in every queue, and then we'll come back and fix them in a bit. On the next turn. Yeah, we'll go street baller there. Do you want herbalist there? We're not being offered one right now, so we'll take public works. You're looking for an armor. Is armor tier 2? Armor is probably tier 2. Public works then. Armor again, it's probably tier 2. Okay, public works. Okay, so that's all the empties. We'll observe them a little bit better once we've got them all in provinces, which we'll have next turn. Well, all the ones that can go in the provinces next turn. Yeah, let's play Force March, because I got manpower to play. Get those guys moving. A little bit quicker. And we'll see where... Did we get a fourth objective? No, we haven't got the fourth objective yet. We'll see what that one is. Okay, I can probably back off the culture a little bit. It's making have a little bit more of an issue here. Medina is now under rule and won't be a threat anymore. We gained extra 100 legacy points for that. Large amount of money and for the success in several regional decisions. If anything, I'm actually more interested in the regional decisions. So the neighbors. Lamb stands in our way even if they're not a direct threat to us. Some actions necessary, though, so we can secure our border. So we're going to basically get a mission here to overrun Elam, and the rest are objectives on Babylon. Okay, so we're probably going to fight Elam, and then we're probably going to fight Babylon. But for the moment, we're going to be trying to shore up the functioning of the realm. Oh, we got another build harbor. Let's try to expand that one. We can start going through provinces where we have them. Street parlor, herbalist, public works. Probably don't want an herbalist there. What are we looking for? Armory, so we probably want to up the military ones. Though I'm not going to shine my public works when I presented it. Sorry about that. I had a sneeze. Okay. So, some street parlors, public works. Public sword house, hemp. That's probably all fine. Probably don't need the hemp, but it's probably not worth trying to redesign things for. There we go. Slow down growth a little bit, get infrastructure going. 3 open building slots there. Granary is tempting, but we're going to pass on it. I think I'm going to grab the smokehouse. Yeah, let's stack that health bonus a little bit more. We're getting extremely dense forest here. Tempting to keep it up for the +1 culture, but we're probably going to pop up the prospect for resources. A bit of a shame on the provincial decisions. We did not pull any administration ones. Oh, another one we can remove the prospect resources. Okay. A little bit of money, a little bit of culture. We can turn over to production. Training ground's fine. We probably don't need flax because we're in import range from 101 places. We'll swap that over to public works. Probably the same with the stud. Yeah, definitely plenty of places where we're already good at. So yeah, public work there. Smokehouse, orchard. Orchard's decent when it's an option. It's not always an option, which is a different problem, but... Okay, there's another extremely dense forest we can clear with a prospect for resources. There's the... We're back to the capital here. I'm gonna leave the 2 on culture, because we just pulled a bunch off our culture and see how that works. We are making, from the new territory, a decent amount of money, so we're going to slow down our money roll just a little bit, because I want to get some buildings done. Yeah, that'll give us access to tier 2 commerce, and brought us some money. It's probably worth doing. Okay, that's fine. And none of the idols. Those are no idols. Quick flip through to make sure we're not doing some weirder buildings. The quant is maybe not the best of plans. Go over it there. And the quant's probably not the best of plans. It's a good building because it's a 0 slot, but it's the best way to describe it. It's expensive, right? We're maybe not built up enough to buy such expensive buildings yet. We'll go Anchorage. No, don't do Anchorage here. This is a tiny little inland lake. As good as Anchorages are. Let's grab the Wheelmaker. The Palisades is not a bad choice. Okay. The hemp can probably be swapped out. Yeah, if we need hemp, we can import it from someplace else. Totally works instead. Farm's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Herbalist we probably want to swap out. Got 2 building slots, and to be fair, we're going to lose one of those when the Monarch dies, which is also annoying. Could do the crafty district. Let's go wheelmaker, because we'll be able to import lumber pretty easily. Okay. That's all the provinces doing reasonable things. Now that we've done the somewhat tedious job of optimizing the nation, we'll cycle a couple turns, get some progress done. We had a couple provinces we can get finished, so we'll get those provinces finished. Get the army back in position for a war with Elam. And probably raise some new forces as well. Old Elam might fall at any time to the hands of the Arab raiders. For their own benefit and survival, we are better annexing them, including the region of Suzinia. Barring this move, we can also grant them a protection and accept that they become one of our client states. Let's strike as the Falcon and dispose of the small nation rapidly. We have 30 turns to succeed, which should be quite enough, and yes, that should probably be quite enough. Seeing as there's a possibility that we will succeed accidentally. They literally lost a province, or lost a territory to us just because RNG. RNG decided one of their provinces is mine. And that is enough to make a province. So that new lump of territory is going to become a provincial capital. So at this point, we probably have... I would not be surprised. What is our 3 support? 26. Support 26 units for free. Well, free. I think there's a maximum cost that it will decrease in by, but we can support 26 units for free. And we don't have that many right now, so that's maybe something we'll fix over the upcoming turns. You down there. So we got 3 prospect for resources left. That wasn't what I meant to do. I was hoping we have better at my brains. What's the resource situation looking like? So when you prospected down here, we didn't hit anything, obviously. It may make sense to prospect up in the mountains here, because we get gold and silver in the mountains. Although we have silver over there. That's quite a distance for silver. Yeah, we'll probably hit prospect that mountain. Let's prospect these 3 mountains. It's a productive way to use the prospector resources. And hopefully hit something. And I should probably recruit some troops as our army moves around. Take that one. There's barely any garrison. We're going to take that one. There's more of a garrison, but I think our army can take 8 guys in the mountains. 16... In fact, actually, arguably, the 8 in the mountains is pretty scary. But we stand a better chance in the 8 in the mountains than we do try and take this blob of Romania here. Because the other one I'd be interested in is this one, which is 16. I don't want to fight 16 units for 1, maybe 2 people. That's kind of the problem there. Rumors of a hideous snowman. Yeah. This is one reason not just to take over random territories in this scenario. And it's, okay, there's a volcano there. Yeah. Yeah. And that doesn't go away. That never goes away. That's because there's just some of these places have pretty bad balances. I'm a little bit tempted to try to get up here, because I think up here we'd be able to get some horse archers, but That territory just looks terrible. We'll let it grow a bit. So yeah, we want to build up a field army because we're going to be fighting in the open areas soon. And the open terrain out here, I think the 14 is 10 front liners, 4 cavalry slots. So there's an argument there to be building quite a bit more troops. And on top of that, probably valuable troops. So I'm thinking of building like 8 immortals. So with the 2 that we have, that'll bring us up to a full front line of 10 immortals. And then we'll want some cavalry to provide flanking protection for them. What do we have in this stack currently? An armored cavalry and a regular. Yeah, so we'll go with just 4 for the moment. And then I'm going to bring the backline up to 14. Backline's currently 6, so another 8 archers. Though we'll be fine with those skirmishers. Yeah, we'll be fine with those skirmishers. For 2 of them, so 6 plus 2 plus another 6. So, as you can see, that's a recruitment set. Unless I spread the recruiting out a little bit, could probably easily do that. Median heavy or median light cav. So I could go through the provinces here, figure out which one's going to be the most sensible for recruitment. So you're not really something we're worrying about. Could grab some light cav from there, that wouldn't be bad. The Anatolian cav, I think, is the medium cav. Our remaining cataphracts are going to be heavy cav, okay. Yeah, it's probably light cav. Light cav. Okay, so if we're going to use provincial stuff, it's cavalry. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter where I'm getting it from. How long is it going to take me to build a bunch of cataphracts? Way too long. Not waiting 8 turns for the cavalry to show up. The point of spreading this out is to make them show up faster. We can get one of you. Nomad cavalry. We're not quite rich enough, I think, to field full mercs. You know, I can recruit the 6 archers from here. That saves us some time. And then I can grab the heavy the regular cav from various places. So there we go. So we can get everything except for the immortals built in 1 turn. It's going to take 8 for those to get together. That's probably how much time it's going to take for these guys to run that place over. Run that place over, I think. To establish our 2 northern provinces that I want. Okay, where were we on the legacy chart again? I suspect way too high. We came, or not legacy, culture decadence ratio. Yeah. For some reason, I'd expect myself to have more decadence than I do. That's probably why I'm over-investing in culture. We'll take the guys off for culture. And money production. Here we go. So we've only got 1 build slot here. Apparently we'd actually get a bonus for having cattle in the area, but we can need in the cattle, which would do the same thing. So I'm not going to worry about too much about it. Wheelmaker. Let's go the wheelmaker. We don't have the lumber yet. There's ways to need the lumber can. Wheelmaker will give us our third infrastructure building here. This means when we get a fifth slot, we can go rolling for the land expansion. Oops, I forgot to check all the provinces. Whoops-a-daisy. Although some places idle. Change our recruitment policy so we can send some of these guys to make us some money. Let's do that, because we are spending money on tickets. Develop infrastructure. I want to press that, but we'll hold off a couple turns and see if we can get the money situation better. One way or another, Alam is not a potential problem anymore. Their administration is still in place, and we hold no grudge against them, though you've earned 100 legacy points and a large amount of money for the success. The success of having their province defect to me. Yeah. Plotting neighbor. The Lydian king, half-breed of Greek and Circassian ethnicities, is scheming against us. We know that from our spies. We need to make a move. Okay, so instead, well, we finished that objective. They specifically want us to take over that place. That place is owned by us already, so too late. Well, they said they actually want us to take over that place. Either way, we've achieved the objective, apparently. So next turn we'll get a mission to do something against these guys. Whether or not we do that is a different problem. So, yeah. Those guys have arrived. These guys have arrived. We're gonna merge these armies. We'll actually put someone in charge in the meantime. We'll put the siege expert in charge. Get those stacks together. 2 turns. These guys should arrive where I want them to be. Should quickly deal with the garrison. We can speed them up a little bit with a forced march. Which means they should probably arrive in a turn instead. Here, I think we're going to do it like we did in the other one. We're going to do a reroll until we can get the public works. At least the public works. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. There's enough building slot. I'm not sure if that was open last turn, because I accidentally rolled over. Apparently I missed a impenetrable forest. So if I get another prospecting, I should do it there. Or I did it there and it didn't remove it for whatever reason. We got a bolster colony. Can we bolster that location? And I went to check to see if I had a prospect. That's what I did. Didn't find anything. Found a new mineral vein. Removed the unbroken range, so it was worth doing there anyway. What mineral did we hit? Sulfur. Okay. Not what we're looking for, but we hit it. Bronze works. No tin nearby to import, so I'm not going to do that. I do see the point in building up the walls, so we'll do that. Then we have surplus food here. Oh, that's actually a little bit too much. There we go. And that's fine, and that's all the way around, unless we got a loose that's got something to do, and we don't. Oop, not quite enough to do 2 territories. Okay, the force march was probably a waste then. Yep, and we've got enough progress tokens to become a glorious monarchy. And a new ruler. A bit of a shame. The new one is probably not as good as the old one. Bad military. Poor administrator. He's at least a diplomat. Prevail against Lydia. Lydia plots and form alliances against us. If we do nothing, they might manage to gather too many Helican allies. We must act swiftly, or rule can be endangered. Their gilded city of Sardis and Lydia should be conquered by our army within 30 turns. Or should make sure the Lydian kingdom is no bigger than the royal bathtub they use for our daily wash. 2 regions at the most. I suppose that's what might happen down here with Elam, which just had their last province defect to us. So next turn they're going to cease to exist because they're not going to have a nation. Oh, and this province defected. You're just seeing provinces defect. That's just a thing that happens to these nations, and they don't get the glorious tier, and we're glorious tier, so they're gonna have issues. We got another bolster colony. Let's use that to fortify the northern border a little bit more. Oh. I'd done a reroll here, and I guess, so distribute slaves. We must distribute a slave out of the region. Yeah. Okay. Well, then we don't need that many people on infrastructure if there's nothing to build in the area. Granted, that's going to get fixed in the turn, because they're all going to get 1 growth in the turn, but at the moment, there's nothing to build, so... Okay, we get a little onto food over, or a little of the food over here onto infrastructure. Public works is always nice. I'm going to try to re-roll into a public works here. You should be making enough food. I can move you. Yeah. On production, keep the place food positive. Okay. And then we're over to the idols, which is apparently nothing to do. Okay. Second of the turn, take that province over so we can make that, or take that territory over so we can declare the province. 18v4. Should be an easy fight. Maybe not super easy. We took some damage. No casualty, or no unit losses. Okay. We just dropped 41 tiers of stuff. So I think that was we heard in Decadence reduction from the last leader, and the new leader is not as skilled. Let's just say the new leader is not as skilled. Okay, we're gonna do some rerolls here, and we are gonna move some people over onto culture production. See how that works with trying to up tier us. The other thing is we just hit glorious tier, so all of a sudden our government age is being held against us. And our government is not as young and spry as it once was. That works, okay. Open build slot. Or small. We grew rapidly and are now going to potentially suffer the side effects of it. Let's have to turn a massive empire of almost worthless territories into something worth owning. We don't really need the flax. I'm going to try to reroll into some of the zeros lots if I can. Nope, and we had another one of them defect. Okay. 3 objectives on them. Those are the 3 objectives we have. Okay. So as much as the objectives are saying go fight Lydia, I'm very tempted to fight Babylon instead. Oh, we do have a papyrus. That would be a tempting thing to use. Okay. In fact, we got it locally there. It's not the only source of papyrus we have. The only source that we have, yes, is more of Babylon defects. We'll get some more. Okay, that's the only little territory. 4 turns, our army will be fully rallied. 3 turns, we should have the other province. Okay, that didn't move us up any. I'm gonna do it more in culture. It's a bit of a shame. I sell displace, do displace. Trying to roll the 0 slot health building or the public works here. Okay. Another 30 culture being made. 2 building slots there. We don't need the culture here. Or I don't need the conversion here because we're in line. There's nothing to convert. They're just Iranian citizens. Gold site's also not necessarily the best for culture. Probably find a better one slot there. The money's tempting. Although this is a region where we have a deficit, so we'll take the farm. Oh, a lot of our provinces early on are probably going to have food deficits, so that's not surprising. Okay, let's do a reroll. One into 3, so lots of stuff to build here. I apparently have no lumber with import range. This is not the ideal lumber generating building. That's the terrain map mode. But I don't know if there's any nearby forests, for example, to grab. Line. Movement overlay? That's probably going to be a decent OD. Yes, that's the closest forest. So given this is the Fertile Crescent, yeah, we'll probably do wood chopping. I don't want to do a lot of wood chopping because they're not very strong. But we need lumber to the need places. And that's as good a place as any to put one. And we've got the public roads already here. I'll do the brickworks. Build the infrastructure in the province. Ooh, monument. That'll help with the culture generation. Take that clear water. Barely does anything to the construction rate, but we tried. Killed there. Okay, so we've got 4 objectives on the Babylonians, so as much as the quest is telling me to go kill Lydia, I'm really, really tempted to go after Babylon instead. Gotta build a harbor. We can build a harbor there. Okay, we'll have those guys merge up to get join those guys there. And then we'll start trying to get these armies merged. You're fully built in 3 turns. Once that's fully built, what we're going to do, they're going to sort of merge, and they're going to split the medium infantry off from the rest. Probably give the medium infantry its own rear guard and flankers. And yeah, the Immortals are getting a little expensive. I may need to stop recruiting them because they're expensive to recruit. Not necessarily to maintain. We've got pretty cheap troop maintenance right now. Yeah, the entire military is costing 12 upkeep. It's just the recruitment costs are expensive. Okay, that helped a little bit with the progressing. We want stables. There's a stables. Grab the stables. Okay, let's move some more over culture generation. Doing a 30 dead time because I don't really want anyone on culture generation, but at the same time we don't want to be in a declining tier. If anything, I'm probably doing it a little slow. Okay, we'll do bolster colony there again, sort of to fortify that northern border against the raiders coming down. Getting reminded against that for that mission to go westward. Yeah, so we'll take that in the next turn. Go through our provinces quickly. And we can move a little bit over from food. Just a little bit quicker. Open building slump there. Public works. If I had access to the marble, I would definitely do the Tribune here. We don't need the loyalty otherwise. We can import the pottery, which would earn us some commerce from the importing of it, and some local money from the salt. Yeah, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm not too desperate on money. We'll do a shuffle. This is tempting because we have neighboring empires. Yeah. We are, as we continue to expand, going to try to move that papyrus around quite a bit. Guard tower next, specifically next to a unguarded frontier for the moment, makes a lot of sense. When are you supposed to activate? Next turn. So that makes doing the anchorage there a really smart idea or a really bad idea. You know, I'll take the gamble here. So I don't know if this completes or the decision completes first. If this completes first, then the decision will kick it right up to a harbor. If the decision, or if this completes first, then the decision will kick it up to harbor. The decision completes first, not the construction, then I'll be trying to build an anchorage where we have an anchorage to confuse everything. Public Works. Okay. I'll let this part go a little bit long, but if everything goes according to plan, I think this is the turn I'm going to go ahead and end it on. So we're going to have this fight against the independents here. So hopefully goes reasonably well. Okay. We took some attrition, but that's fine. We lost a medium infantry, which will be fine. That allows us to finish that province up. Yeah, we have that sort of one undefended circle in the middle of that. That'll be fine. It won't be great, but it'll be fine for the moment until we get some proper mountain men. And that is actually one reason to move against Lydia. I know one of the Lydian provinces over here, I think it's this one, provides some decent mountain men. And that's probably what we'll use to clear out these alpine regions, the mountains here in the Caucasus. Okay, so we want these guys to march down like so. I spent more money than I have. Yeah, okay. Can't recruit those immortals, can't afford them. So we'll have to run too short of a whole front line. That'll be fine. Ulster Colony, we will also play. We'll make that the provincial capital. We'll put the Ulster Colony on the capital. Make the capital specifically easier and better defended. Okay, so this is where I'm going to put the part break in. We're forming a province there, so with that, all the territory we inherited from Medina will be proper provinces. We are starting to just have stuff swap over to us from Lydia, which isn't a province, and from Babylon. I currently have an objective to go after Lydia. There's a debate whether or not I will. They wanted me to take the gilded city of Sardis. I happen to have not memorized which is which. So I don't think it's Galatia there. Lydia, Lycia, Konya. It might be one of those that's what's called after we own it. I'm not sure. But yeah, we got an objective to go take over. Oh, the city in Lydia. So it wants us to take over the territory of Lydia, I assume. Unless it's Lydia the country, and there's a Sardis in here that I'm not aware of. I suspect it's one of these two. It's probably the capital. It's probably here. Granted, we probably want to go here anyway for the culture. And then here for the money. Fractalist River. That'd be one solution to our money problems. This is where we're going to put a part break in. So if you're watching on YouTube, there will be a part up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to take a short break, sip a little bit of tea, and stretch the legs, and then we'll be right back to recording. Of the sort of 4 starting nations that we take over as Persia, we've taken over the first 2. We probably, it depends on how quickly Persia or Babylon and Lydia fall, whether or not we take over both of them, one or both of them in the next one. We can see Egypt is growing reasonably in strength. End of this. Granted, I've been running for almost an hour and a half here. Legacy-wise, we're up to 387, although that is nowhere near enough to win, even in the winning spot. Right? We're at 7 legacy. We started off in the group of people near the bottom that don't start with any legacy. So the main people that are ahead of us are places like Lydia, which start with some. I guess the Etruscans start with some as well. But yeah, Lydia that starts with some, Sparta and Athens start with some, Babylon starts with some, and Egypt starts with some. I think Egypt starts with 7,500 to represent they've had the pyramids for who knows how long at this point. People who know how long probably know how long. It's been a while. I know Cleopatra is closer to us in history than to the pyramids for her, right? So that's how old the pyramids are ancient. So Egypt starts with 7,500. They only gained 90 over the 17 turns we've rolled, so we're on turn 18. Babylon, Athens, and Sparta, I believe, was started with 2,500. So they haven't really gained very many either, though apparently Athens has probably completed one of their objectives. That's probably why they're... they get missions such as we do, being a sort of main character of the scenario. I think them and Babylon have both completed one. Or, well, they have. I'm not so sure about Babylon, because Babylon's got a pretty big income at 14. But yeah, we're working on getting legacy, and really, for us, getting legacy is getting territory. We got to get territory, and then we got to get the culture up in the territory. Which is one thing we're struggling around a little bit with right now, which is maybe one reason I'm not rushing off to the races to get more territory, is we need to improve our culture to decadence ratio. With the death of our first monarch, our culture to decadence ratio went in the toilet, because we went from an excellent administrator, which lowers our decadence, to a poor administrator who screws up the taxation. And he's also bad at military. He at least knows how to talk to the foreigners. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end this part. If you're watching YouTube, part up tomorrow. If you're watching Twitch, feel free to hang around. I'll be right back. So until the next part, I wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.